Will the heavy sentence on the Diepsloot children's killer help restore communities' faith in the justice system? Is a 3,000 rand fine for a man responsible in what led to Luke Tibet's death appropriate? Is the public's call for death sentence on child molesters unreasonable? And are parents doing enough in ensuring their children's safety? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Crime involving children is still high in South Africa. According to statistics released by the South African Police Service, more than 827 children were murdered in South Africa in 2012-2013. That's more than 2 children a day. But the recent Diepsloot rape sentencing has been applauded as sending a strong message to criminals. Ntokozo Radebe has been handed down with 9 life sentences after being convicted of kidnapping, raping and murdering 3 young Diepsloot children. Meanwhile, the 5-year-old boy who was abducted allegedly by a man and 2 women at the weekend has been found at his home in Bramfisherville in Soweto. Today we ask, what will it take to uproot the cause of crimes against children, and who is responsible for their safety? My guest today in studio is Ndadembuyiselo Botha from Sonke Gender Justice, and joining us from our Durban studios is Nomfundo Machola. She's a senior social worker at Childline South Africa. And on the line, I'm joined by Nathi Ncube, the spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority. Before we can tackle the issue though, let's take a look at the insert put together by one of our producers, Nandi Ndlazi.
The families of murdered Annelisa Mkhonto and cousins Yonelisa and Zandile Mali have found little solace in the conviction of child killer Ntokozo Radebe. The girls, who were aged 5, 3 and 2 years respectively, were brutally murdered by Radebe in Diepsloot in September and October of 2013. The lifeless body of Annelisa was found dumped in a nearby site, while Yonelisa and Zandile's tiny bodies were found in the informal settlement's communal toilets.
We were very hurt because the child left us in a bad way, being killed by that man. I always think of her when I see where she used to play, and my heart breaks.
Diepsloot community members, civil organizations, the NPA and several political parties have welcomed Radebe's conviction. Some have asked for the empty Diepsloot police station to be open to avoid similar future incidents.
You see, the police station was supposed to be been opened by 2010, but unfortunately, because of the problems that we had here, it was never been open. Like now, they said it will be open during this month, during November month. But sooner, if they can open it, sooner will be the better. Because we are squatting here at Metro, there's no room, there's no space, we don't have cells here. We got to take the suspect to Pretoria to cell, so that makes the police not the work to be done very nicely.
Let's get into the program, and let me welcome Nathi Ncube, the spokesperson of the NPA. Nathi, welcome to the show. You were quite excited that you managed to secure a conviction, and the court really gave quite a stiff sentence, one must say. What kind of a message did the NPA really want to send with this type of a conviction?
Good afternoon, Paul, and good afternoon to the viewers. Look, with each and every case that we do, of course, we always try to ensure that we secure conviction, and when we argue for the most appropriate sentence under the circumstances. Now, in this matter, it was not different. The accused was convicted of serious crimes, about 12 of them, and we then argued that the only appropriate sentence for that kind of a crime or crimes was that of life imprisonment. In fact, there was no argument that was presented contrary to what we were saying that was, considered by the court. Now, the message, of course, that we are trying to send is that, I think we've reached a point where this type of offenses should never, ever be tolerated. In fact, it should encourage members of the public, parents who are aware of these things happening to their kids, and even neighbors who are aware that these things are happening to the kids, either by the parents themselves, relatives, or even other neighbors, that they must come forward and report these incidents to the police as soon as possible. But it should not end there. It should be that they must then ensure that they also come to court to give evidence. It is not an easy thing to ask because, it takes time and it takes much of your time as a person, and you have to travel to court.
Yes.
But the only way we can actually ever have what we're trying to achieve, which is to have security where people feel and live freely in this country, is when all the members of the public participate in the process.
Okay. But do you have, though, mechanisms that would encourage either victims of this type of assaults, either be it children or even parents, to feel free and safe to say, I can go and report this type of a crime, and therefore the system will be able to protect me even if I have to go and appear in a court of law?
We can never say we have enough, but we have two examples that I can give you where we think that at least they should be able to assist the victims of crime. The first one is what we call Tutuzela care centers that are found in most of our provinces. In fact, most in the big cities, you'll find that we have that Tutuzela care center. When you go there and the matter is reported there, you find that everybody that is involved in this value chain will be at the Tutuzela care center. They will be able to assist the victim. They will be able to provide medication. They will be able to provide some kind of counseling. But they will also make sure that when they go to court, they know what to expect. But when the matter then is finally heard in court, we also have what we call court preparations officers. These people then, they also basically are there throughout the trial with the witnesses. They ensure that they are well prepared. They ensure that they understand what will be happening to them, and of course make sure that they are ready to give evidence and what is expected of them. So we have those two measures in place that seek to assist witnesses when they go to court. But also with the victims that are young, you would know that where the victim is below the age of 16, the cases, in most cases, in fact all rape cases, they're heard in camera. But with the victims under the age of 16, we provide what we call intermediary, where they will then have somebody who sits with them through the trial as they give evidence.
Okay, just hold it there, Nati. Mr. Botha, men are abusing and some of them are killing children and babies. What is wrong? And I don't mean all of them, by the way. But what is wrong with the specials?
Well, I think there are a lot of things when I'm put that are wrong, and one of them is the level of impunity where some would feel that, I can literally get away with murder. But also it's a combination of many factors other than impunity. But there's also people knowing that, I will not be found out, caught out. If I am, chances are that, as I said earlier, I may go out scot-free. If not, the case may just fizzle. So you would need a multifaceted approach to ensure that we deal and work with men,
Nati, what frustrates the prosecution in a matter of this sort? Oh, okay. We'll definitely come back to Nati with that question. Perhaps let me just go to our studio in Durban there and find out. Nomfundo, this type of cases, over 100 cases were reported to the South African Police Services in the 2012-2013 year. But one would say that is definitely not a true reflection of what is happening. There's a whole lot more of cases that are probably not being reported. Am I correct there?
Good afternoon. Yes, you are correct. There's a number of cases that are not being reported to the police station, especially you find that in Dupe Road areas, there's quite a number of cases where you'll find that they have not reported those cases. And those children are vulnerable and they don't know what services are there for them and where to go if they need such services, where they can get help.
Okay, hold that thought there, Nomfundo. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion. Please don't go away. This is Question Time.
Charge into a participating Dunlop zone for a power deal. Buy 4 15-inch or larger Dunlop or Sumitomo tyres and get this free mobile power bank multi-charger. Charge it on the go or on your PC and stay powered up. Come in for a tyre deal that will get you amped.
Dunlop zone.
Healthy food is not always the cheapest food option. And so making the healthy choices, the easier choices, remain a health challenge for South African children.
Bipolar disorder is said to affect 1 in 100 people.
Low back pain, the most common spinal disorder, affects about 8 out of 10 people at some point in their lives.
Back pain persists for more than a week or two. Seek advice.
I'm Dr. Sello Matau. Watch Health Talk every Saturday on SABC.
In Parliament, Higher Education and Training Minister Bladen Nzimande has conceded that the bursary scheme is not enough to meet the growing demand from students.
Funding for universities is not enough. We'll be open about that. We will continue to ask for more from government as a department.
We've always said that the NSFAS budget must be 16 billion rand and that no qualifying student must be prevented from studying just because they cannot afford to do so.
There's been concern about citrus exports to Europe and investment contracts.
There are more opportunities for us to sell sugar, wine, ethanol, some fruit products than we had before, and that could create jobs.
That's Business News, weekdays at 6 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back, Ntatembuiso Lebota and Nomfundo Machola is our guest, or they are our guest. Nomfundo joins us from our Devon studios. Now, Ntatembuiso, some of the cases are not being reported. This is because perhaps victims feel that the perpetrator is a supplier of safety, if one may call it, or of comfort, whether it be in terms of clothing, groceries, providing shelter, all that.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Or maybe it could be issues of culture. Sometimes someone would say, or family member would say, look here, do not expose this, We can talk about this. It's a family matter. Sometimes it could be about religion. When someone says, but you know what, this man is a pastor, highly regarded, highly respected. Don't talk about it because what's it going to do to the family name? But also because of the level of dependency. This person says, but what are we going to eat? If this man is sentenced, what's going to happen tomorrow? Transport money, upkeep money, all of those things. That's why it's important that the empowerment programs that should happen speedily towards women, so that we know when such matters happen, there's a likelihood that people will speak out, will break the silence. So that you don't even think twice that, we can't do this, because when we do this, possibilities are that we may not know where our next meal will come from.
Nomfundo, what are these children telling you? I'm talking about children who are subjected to this type of violence that we're talking about.
Most of the cases that we have dealt with, you find that most of the abusers are people that are known. to the children. And you'll find that when they tell you what has happened, it's because they cannot report the cases because the perpetrator is their loved ones and is the person that is providing for them. And in that case, there's also, some influences from family members where they will say, if you report the case, then who's going to be paying for what is needed in this family? And the children will feel caught in between because at times they will not know how to deal with the situation, and they feel that the system is pulling them on the other side and the family is pulling them on the other side.
Now, I said to Mr. Botha here that, truth be told, most of the perpetrators are male.
Yes.
Is that what you're finding?
It is true.
Yeah. Just talk to us about that.
It is true. It is true. Most of the perpetrators are male, but you find that there's also perpetrators that are women. Yeah.
How so?
You find that, excuse me?
Just give me a scenario where a female is a perpetrator as well.
Okay. We have dealt with a case where a mother has been a perpetrator towards a female child. She has been asking a child to suck her as a means of punishment.
Wait, just run that again.
She has asked a child for oral sex.
Her own child?
As a means of punishment. Her own biological child.
What kind of punishment is this?
Whenever a child has done something wrong, that will be a punishment for that child. At first, we have thought it can't be, but then when we were going deep towards the case, it was true accusations because it was reported by the neighbor who will always hear what the mother will say to the child.
Now, who needs help there? The mother or the child? Or both?
Both. It is trauma when that kind of abuse is happening towards the child. That child becomes traumatized. But at the same time, the mother will need help in terms of knowing that what she has done is wrong and also accepting that they are what she has done is wrong, and also finding other ways of placing punishment when a child has done something wrong. Because in actual fact, children are also human beings. They are not supposed to be violated. Why should they be suffering?
But Ndate Botha, wouldn't that type of a mother have to face some consequences, in a court of law?
Oh, she has to, but it has also happened. I mean, I remember the Free State, and not so long ago, a mother was also, involved in, illicit or sexual misconduct, and she was sentenced, and a heavy sentence for that matter. So you do have such instances, but you also, when I'm put on, only need the sentencing only, but you also need, some level of intervention in terms of also treating her, but also sending a certain message, and that will be part of the sentence. But also communities, because we know as communities who are the perpetrators. We know them. But it's about time that all of us, we break the silence, because what happens more often than not is that a child will not also be believed. You in fact hear stories where a child is blamed, for bringing disrepute to the family, that it can't be him. Your father, he's very honorable, he's very respected. So it's important for us, for starters, to begin to believe children that because more often than not, they would have no reason to lie. I mean, why would a child want to humiliate himself or herself to claim that I have been sexually abused or violated?
But that woman or mother would just be being silly.
Well, she's not being silly, she's also being sick. I mean, in the same way that a father who does this to his own children, both boys and girls, he is also being sick and silly.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, let's look at solutions, how we can keep this question time. Please don't go away.
Zoom into Africa. This is Seychelles. The president is Mr. James Michel James. Seychelles got independent from United Kingdom on 29 June in 1976. The population is over 80,000 people. One of the major languages spoken is English. Monetary unit is the Seychelles rupee.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today in studio, Botha from Sonke Gender Justice, and joining us from our Devon studios is Nomfundo Majola. Welcome back. Perhaps let's look at this particular case in Diepsloot. The heavy sentence, multiple life sentence. Would it perhaps, make any difference?
Oh yes, it will, Mpo, on many levels. One of them is that it will restore the confidence of communities in the justice system to say that, look, our cries are being heard, our voices are being heard. That's number one. But number two, it will also send a clear, unambiguous message that, look, as society, we are intolerant of these crimes. But also it will also show to communities that, bring your cases, report, police, because it's not enough to always blame police that they're not doing their job, they're not doing their work. The question that all of us must raise, what do we do as communities? How do we assist police? Are we members of the CPF? What is it? Do we blow the whistle so that it's all of us in it? So this sentence has got these effects. So I hope that communities in Diepsloot will know that I will not keep quiet when I know that, or I will not look the other way when I know that, my next door neighbor or in my family, these things are happening.
Nomfundo, what kind of a community, you are a social worker. In your analogy, your analysis of a community where something of this sort could happen, what conclusion do you reach?
Can you repeat the question for me?
The question is, what kind of a society is it, or a community is it, where crimes of this nature, where, for instance, a man kills 3 children, rapes them, and all that, molests them, and, of course, ending up getting all these multiple life sentences? What kind of a community or a society is this where some of these things can happen?
Paul, because we're living in a poverty-stricken communities, it's not only happening in Diepsloot, but other communities are also facing the same challenges, where children are being killed and they are being raped, not because that community has something bad or they deserve something, but I think it's something that is happening everywhere now, and people think that they can get away with it because if no one is reporting cases, that means, they can just go scot-free.
But are parents doing enough? Is the community doing enough to ensure that children are protected and are safe?
Not the way we are supposed to be doing. A lot of children are still at risk because what happens is a as I've said before, that we are in communities that are poverty-stricken. You find that parents go to work early in the mornings and they come back late in the evening. And who is taking care of the children? And when that happened, at times you'll find that they will have plans where they will say, my child will be left with my neighbor or one of my relatives. But the question is, are they safe with those people that we are trusting? Are they the right people to take care of our children? Because most of the perpetrators are people that are known, are people that are having a relationship with the children.
Mm-hmm. In the Bram Fisherville case, for instance, a boy and a girl are taken or picked up by a man, perhaps, and two women or another woman. Obviously, these are people they know.
And trust. They know and trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how then, I mean, do we blame children? You know, to say you were not supposed to go with him or what? I mean, if it's your father, for instance, he has separated with your mother, he wants to get back at your mother, he takes you as a little boy, how do you blame a young boy for really going with the father?
Yeah, and if we blame the boy, it would in fact be blaming the victim, if you like. I think the blame solely should actually be going to the one who, the father and the mother, or the man and the mother, or the woman who did all of this. Because, kids, as I said earlier, kids do all of this, and Nomfundo had also alluded to this. They do this because they trust you and I, because they think that these are responsible adults who have our best interest at heart, you know, because we can't be burdening children every day to say, look, you must always watch your back. You know, don't do this, don't do... When in fact, we must be saying, how do we educate? How do you, when I'm poor, continuous, so that we also don't close the stable when the horse has bolted. Okay. So that we have these programs continuous and not feel overwhelmed. Because the problem is that we more often than not, we talk about this, we act when in fact the damage has been done.
You've got a case where a 3,000 fine was imposed on the gentleman who was responsible in what led to Luke Tibet's death. You know, he was fined 3,000 and released. Surely that can be a good message.
Oh, for sure, it can be a good message. You would need a heavy sentence because, you see, the danger with, because I will pay that money, or relatives or family members will pay that money, I'm going to go out. Because part of the sentence is, how do you send a message that would be a deterrent? How do I say, as someone dispensing justice, how do I make sure that this person, in fact, there are consequences. This person pays for his or her actions. And that should be the litmus test. Okay. But if you sentence me to something that I can afford, I mean, you are sending a confusing, conflicting message. On the one hand, you say people report, but on the other, there's this leniency.
There's been a call for death sentence on child molesters. Do you support that?
I don't think so, because our constitution is very clear. Because we must also make a distinction, and I know most people would say, and it's and understandably so. You are in pain. You are hurt. Crime has been committed. You have been violated. But we must always be mindful of, you know, an eye for an eye would create what society.
Okay, let me thank you for the time. Nomfundo Machola, let me thank you for the time as well, and hope that Childline South Africa continues to do the good work that you're doing to ensure safety of our children. And Natin Ngube, the spokesperson of the NPA, will also thank you. That was Question Time for today. You can follow me on Twitter as well, @Mpotsedu, that's my Twitter handle, or Question Time at sabc.co.za, or our Twitter handle, @QuestionTime24. From me and the crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.